Hi everyone, welcome back to The Learning Gardener. If you haven't been here before, my name is Pip, and this afternoon, with what is left of the day, we are going to be dealing with the mess that has become this garden bed. So this is normally my favorite garden bed, but this season it really took a beating. We have done some weeding in here, but there is like an invasive weed that spreads below the surface via this like endless stream of weeds that I don't think we'll ever get on top of. It was a bit more suppressed because this was overplanted in summer, but as you can see right now it is quite barren, and I have pulled out almost all the dead things except this Erica flora has subsequently died, so we'll remove that while we're here. But what we're going to do is hopefully going to bring some much needed colour and life to this area. So I will do a bit more weeding as we go, and I do need to put a layer of fresh mulch in here, but we've had a lot of rain lately, and this area can get a little bit soggy because the water runs down from the driveway. That wet weather is why we have this footpath currently wrapping around the garden bed, so apologies for that. It is not attractive, but we took a tree down out the front and we've been splitting the wood and bringing it down the back and bringing the mulch down. So the wheelbarrow has been doing a lot of trekking back and forth, and with the horrendous weather that we've had, it's just ripped this area up, and it was getting impossible to push the wheelbarrow through, but things had to be done, so we put this down to facilitate travel of the wheelbarrow. Now what we have got to put in here is we've got 5, I think, flannel flowers that have been sitting in their nursery container pots waiting for me to do something about them since before Paddy was born, and he is 4 months old today. So you can see they're looking a bit scraggly, so we just need to plonk them in the ground and they need to be done. Then from out the front, these were supposed to go in out the front, but again I never got that far. These are autumn joy sedums and they've died back for winter, but you can see some little sprouting, and this one I was breaking off the dead bits the whole thing came out, and underneath there are about 5 million curl grubs. Now I've never had trouble with curl grubs eating roots before, but I think maybe here they have, but it'll be fine. They're kind of like, grow like a succulent, so they'll be right. The only question mark is whether they will be happy in this area, but they're getting put here because the front yard is covered in tree, so it'll be a long time until the front garden is repaired. The other thing we've got to do is I'm going to take out all of this lamb's ear. A huge patch died back here for no apparent reason at the end of summer, so I'm just going to take the whole lot out. So we're going to do that. The other thing I want to do, which I don't know if it's going to work, is in these containers we've got apple trees. Apple trees that have never been happy, apple trees that decided to blossom in autumn, which was a weird choice, and lavender that have fought a good fight. I cut them all the way back down to the root, and here they are again. So I want to try and put the apple trees, if I can, in the ground, because at this point they might as well be. A lot of the fruit trees I have kept in large containers like this. It was because I was like, well, maybe one day I'll move and I would like to take a tree that's a bit more mature with me. It's not going to happen, so I'm going to plant those in the ground, and then I have a few other plants that were in containers throughout summer last year that I would like to try and put in this area. I think 99% of what we're intending on planting are all perennials. That makes my life easier going forward, and hopefully it makes this area more beautiful. So we have got maybe like an hour and a half till Paddy wants to start his bedtime routine. So we're obviously probably not going to get all of it done today. My mum's inside with Paddy, so she will give me a yell when he is ready to start his bedtime routine. But until then, we will get this planted up. The other thing I want to do at some point, we've got this leftover Rio mesh, and this is from when we created a Dobby enclosure for when I was looking after my mum's dog. He did not like the Dobby enclosure, even though it was the whole side garden and courtyard, and he climbed over it and came onto the deck, so it didn't work. But so we have leftover mesh, and I would like to potentially use that so that we can put it along here, so that in winter when the snowball viburnums go dormant, we don't have to look at this hideous colorbond fence, and we can grow sweet peas up it, and then the sweet peas can just drop their seed and they can just keep regerminating through here. A lot of the sweet peas I planted this last year have done pretty well in terms of reproducing, except the trouble is I don't want them there anymore, so you know, but I thought here is fine. Today we are going to be just trying to clear out here and plant everything we can, and maybe if we're lucky mulch. So we'll see how we go. We've got the lambs here all cleared out, and I am accumulating a little pile of curl grubs for the chickens. We've got one very sad looking, slightly drowned flannel flower here, so I'm going to prune that back and tidy it up because it really looks, actually I might just pull it, I think it's actually dead. Yeah, it's dead. So we will put these 5 flannel flowers here. I would prune them back to tidy them up, but they usually flower late winter, early spring, which is soon, so I don't want to miss out on the blooms. But we'll make a nice little patch of them here because this is a pale purple buddleia, and I love the silvery blue foliage of the flannel flower and the white flower with the foliage of the buddleia and the flower of the buddleia. They look amazing together. Then over here we've got some Russian sage that have been sitting in these containers for half their life. Well, that's, you know, half my life really. And we've got some lobelia, so we'll pop that in over there with the other Russian sage that has gone dormant that needs a prune back. And we have a beautiful hot purple salvia, which was supposed to befriend one that was over here to replace the one that had died, but the other one has subsequently died. So yeah, we're down to one salvia again, and we'll pop that in. And there are so many just weeds through here, but a lot of them are like little tiny grasses that are coming up, and they're so annoying to pull up that what I'm actually going to do is not mulch today. I'm going to come through tomorrow when it's sunny and spray with vinegar. And we actually have to do a ton of weeding down the side of the house, and there are other columbines that have self-seeded and planted there, so we will transplant them into here, but we just need to get this job done. So I'm going to get to planting, and we'll see how we go for time. And if we have time, we've got some Queen Anne's lace that's in the lawn just there that we can harvest and pop in here, and we can go and get the weeds from down the side and pop them in here. So we'll start over here, I think. So the Australian natives of the flannel flower are very much like the autumn joy sedum and the Russian sage in that they don't like a lot of moisture, which they are a little bit out of luck for in this garden when it rains. So I'm actually not going to water anything in because the soil is pretty moist. But I've done a lot of work on this soil, and we originally smothered out heaps of weeds, although they came back, with cardboard, and then we laid down thick mulch, and that has kept the weeds at bay for quite a long time. But having the lamb's ear here, they just kind of crept back in through the grass, but that has meant that the soil quality has improved really significantly, and it's a little bit higher than what it was. And I have done some work on the drainage, although I do need to do more. But that means that we're not watering it in, and that the soil quality is good, so we don't need to fertilize, because Australian natives don't like a lot of fertilizer, autumn joy sedum don't like a lot of fertilizer, and neither do the Russian sage. So I haven't really bothered putting fertilizer in. I did with the salvia, but that'll do. So we'll have a nice little flush of 5 here, and then I'm going to probably pop the autumn joy sedums. I'm tempted to pop them further away from the driveway flood situation, but my theory with popping them here is that this ground is slightly higher than that ground, so I'm hoping that it will drain that way. Also, we have the hydrangea just there, so that should suck up some moisture in summer, but we're going into a El Nino, so we shouldn't actually have that much moisture. So yeah, hopefully everything will be fine. I have generally mounded things up through here, but over time the soil settles. But we're going to plant these 5 flannel flowers in and the 3 autumn joys, and then we'll see how we're going. But I think we've got a little Paddy up on the deck watching, but I think it might be his bedtime after that, in which case we will come back tomorrow and finish everything else. Flannel flower wild perennial will only live for about 3 years if it's happy in its circumstances. The ones in the front yard have had better days since the tree came down and squashed everything in the front yard. and they are almost impossible to grow from seedlings, from flannel flowers. They require some sort of smoking process to get them going. They need almost to come up after a bushfire, and that's not uncommon with Australian natives, that they do really well after a bushfire. It sort of regenerates them. But I've had a chat with the people down at the local nursery that just specialise in Australian natives, and obviously Protea, because people like to lump them in with Australian natives even though they're from South Africa. But they said it's such a nightmare to get them started. I've tried before and failed dismally. So I was really stoked when just before the tree came down, I saw that the flannel flower, which do still go to seed, it just doesn't, nothing happens from it, had actually self-seeded a little bit, like 1 or 2 plants in the front yard. I was very excited about that because, as I said, 3-year lifespan. So the fact that they had sort of made an attempt at naturalizing in the front yard, I was stoked with, because they are my absolute all-time #1 favorite flower, and they are apparently a little bit happier down here on the south coast of New South Wales. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked, and if these guys can have an attempt at naturalizing a little bit in this part of the garden, I would be very, very happy. Although, I don't know, given the dog activity, probably won't happen, and it's a little bit wetter in this area of the garden than it is up on the street level, so maybe not. And the autumn joys, if they survive the winter weather, which seems to be quite damp at the moment, once they get going, I'm going to divide them so we can have a whole nice patch of them here, and hopefully that will provide some beautiful warm kind of reddy orange colour through here. It's, apart from the autumn leaves when they finally turn, that's the only really red colour that we have in this garden bed. So we'll clean up now, go and take the curl grubs down to the chickens, and go and put Patty to bed, and come back and finish this project on another day. It's a whole new freezing day, and today is actually going to be the warmest day for the next week, so we're going to try and get this done today. And we got Patty with us out in the garden today because apparently sleep is for the weak. So what we are going to try and do, if we can rummage enough time, is try and plant the apple trees. Now, I don't actually know if they've rooted into the ground. I suspect they probably have, but we're going to try and get them out of the containers and plant them in, both of them. Then I have a large terracotta container that is full of a salvia that is just loving its life in that container, but I actually want to use that container to put an olive tree that my sister-in-law gave me when Ollie died, and I want to put that salvia maybe here or here. Not quite sure yet, but I want to move that into a more permanent location because it flowers pretty much year round. Okay, it's not flowering a lot in winter, but it is flowering, so it'd be nice to have a little bit more colour and fullness in this space in winter. Then ideally what I would like to do is move and position these along here so that they're ready for the sweet peas, which I haven't sown yet. And then we have got some false Queen Anne's lace and columbine weeds down the side, and I say weeds because they've just self-seeded in a giant weed patch that I would like to move in here, and I would like to mulch. Seems like a lot to get done for today, but we're going to see how we go, and yeah, we'll get stuck into it this morning. so annoyed with myself. I was rushing because Patty was crying, and look, I've damaged the whole pot. Oh, it's huge. It goes all the way down there. I mean, we can turn it so we can still plant it up, but it's so annoying when you damage a huge, beautiful pot. These were just the grubs I found hidden underneath that apple tree, and there are obviously way more underneath the dirt, so a pretty tasty breakfast time for our girls. We got the other apple tree planted, and it had so many curl grubs in the bottom of it. It was unreal. I took them down to the chickens, and there appears to have been a redistribution of the pecking order, and poor little Betty White seems to be like at the bottom. She's normally our feisty girl, and Betty Boo, our pig, seems to be at the top and preventing other people from having access to food. And even the big Brahma's Fritas chicken, Ziggy and Yuki seem to be stopping Betty White from eating, so I had to like give her some food on the side. So poor little thing, she's going through a molt, and now she's getting picked on, and if Boo's not careful, she's going to get sin binned for being a mean chicken and hogging all the food and picking on everyone. Horrible little chicken. But it is what it is, but it does seem that there's been a redistribution. I'm not sure where Big Betty lies at the top, because she was always the kind of alpha that stood back a little bit. So this one is dwarf red Fuji, which means that one over there is a Jonathan, and we needed 2 different types of apples so they would cross-pollinate. They need to be within about 5 meters, I think it is, of each other in order to allow the bees, if we have any this coming season, to do their thing. Now that one we got in the ground pretty well. The root system was diabolical, as I mentioned, and I damaged the pot. Whoops. So hopefully we won't damage this pot, but it'll be interesting to see if, especially with the lavender, if there's as many curl grubs in here, and if we can get it out and into the ground as easily. And it might be really hard to dig here, because this whole garden bed was a huge tree that was full of white ants, and I had it removed. So there'll be thick roots everywhere. So we shall see. We've also got a very hostile baby today, so things are going well over here. Not really. it has taken me all day to get Patrick to sleep for more than 10 minutes. So what we are going to do is we are going to quickly get the self-seeded plants, pop them in, and then I'm going to mulch, because God only knows how long that baby is going to stay asleep for today. And then if he stays asleep, then I will start weeding along here and continue moving the bricks. I really need to weed the whole way along here. It's like top of the list. Last night Rafa was down here like, oh my God, there it is, at Mousey McMouse face, hiding in those long grasses. And I've just seen where he has dug up, not Rafa, the Mousey McMouse face, has dug up the garlic that I had planted yesterday, had a nibble on it, decided it was disgusting and spat it back out. Ooh. So we are just going to mulch and get this done, and then anything else that happens today is an absolute bonus, because today has not worked out in my favor, but we just need to get this done. And I know that it looks rubbish in this area, but some of that is the lighting and some of it is just a fact of winter. So we need to work on it and get it looking beautiful so that in spring it looks glorious. It's all been mulched now with flung dung, and it looks so much neater to the eye. I think it probably looks exactly the same to you guys and probably doesn't look that nice at all, but at least we've got a few places we can put some annual colour come spring. But at least if everything makes it out of dormancy, this area should look a lot nicer than it did last spring, and we'll hopefully have even better soil fertility now that we've laid flung dung on. We do have a lot of wood chip mulch out the front from the tree that came down, but I'm working on weeding between the garden beds and laying a new layer of mulch there. If we have any left over at the end of that, I will mulch this area and down the side, because huflung dung breaks down really quickly, but it adds a lot of beautiful fertility to the soil. I think we had wood chips for the first 18 months or so, and then we switched to huflung dung, I think partially, if I remember correctly, because I found some white ants in the wood chip mulch and I was like, it's too close to the house, and a friend of mine had just found white ants in her house a few doors down, so I think, if I remember correctly, that's what happened. Anyway, we are all done here. The baby is still asleep, yay! So I am going to plug away here along the side for as long as I'm allowed to, and what I might do is we have some volunteer sweet peas just behind the dobby proof door just down there in the weed patch, and if I get a chance I might dig some of them up and plant some of them in, but for now I'm just going to water all of this in, go and check on the baby, and then if I'm allowed carry on weeding the grass that has grown up along the fence line and moving the bricks for another project somewhere else in the garden at another date. We still have so much to do to make use of the cooler season and the, in theory, lack of weed growth that happens in this season. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this project and hanging out with us. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel, you can check us out on Patreon. The link is below in the description box, and we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on YouTube, and hopefully we will see you again soon here on The Learning Gardener. Thanks so much for watching.